I'm an artist and I'm really bad at drawing, mainly because I don't really do it that often. And if you're thinking, wait, so you call yourself an artist, but you are bad at drawing? I'm like, yes. It is more common than you think. I'm a painter, like I paint with oil paint. That's totally different to using, you know, pen and paper. So when I went on a trip last year, I thought to myself, what if I get myself a sketchbook and draw for 30 days straight? And that's what I did. Not only for like documenting my trip, but mainly for, you know, developing a routine. Like I wasn't gonna paint on the trip. The only way I was able to be creative is with a small sketchbook. I actually filmed this video a year ago when I went on a trip to Australia, and it's so wild looking back because this experiment literally changed the way I do art. Welcome to Sydney in Australia. We first arrived in Sydney, which is where we stayed for about a week. And I love Sydney. I've been here a few times before. If you don't know this about me, this is a lore. I've lived and studied in Perth for a semester abroad. And so like I've been to all the like cool cities in Australia, and Sydney has so nice coastal walks. So we went on one of those coastal walks for our first day. I really missed doing those, and that's where I did my first sketch. I drew these palm trees and I remember being really disappointed with my sketch. I hated it. So I guess we're off to a good start. On day 2, we had dinner in Bondi at the beach, and so, you know, I thought that would be nice to sketch. It was such a special moment, and I remember using color for the first time to see, you know, if color was something that I wanted to use. I hated it, never used color again for the remainder of our trip. So on day 2, I gave up on color. The next few days, I was like, okay, I have to change things up a little bit. So on day 3 and 4, I did some sketches of objects instead of landscapes. I like this a lot more, and it also showed me that, you know, the subject of whatever it is that you're drawing, similar with painting, also kind of directs your mood when being creative. Like if you are creating something that you don't really feel, you don't like it, you don't identify with it, then, you know, move on to something else that brings you more joy and sparks your creativity. So drawing objects was that for me. Like I drew my sunscreen, my sister's Birkenstock slippers, my beach bag, a water bottle, like, you know, all the stuff that we had on our beach towel. On day 5, I actually met with a fellow artist. This is Natasha, and she had invited me to her studio, which first of all is beautiful. And I had told her about my sketching project, and she was like, come on girl, let's sketch together. So we drew each other, and I'm really pleasantly surprised with my sketch. I actually sketched her twice, so did 2 of these on the same day. And even though like they don't look exactly like her, I really enjoyed, you know, having a looser drawing style and painting faces and people. I had so much fun, and as you can see during the remainder of this video, I did this a lot more. Actually, on day 6 was another portrait because we went to the Eras tour to see Taylor for the first time. So special. So I, of course, had to draw Taylor. I took a photo for reference because she in Fearless, when she sings Fearless, she does a hand heart. So I had sketched that, you know, for a reel to like, you know, bring my sketch with me and then, you know, have it be the transition. You get what I mean. I can insert it here. But, you know, that was so cool to see Taylor on stage, drawing that. And also what I've noticed when drawing people is when you draw someone you are familiar with, like their face, and, you know, it sounds weird, even though I've never like met Taylor, I know how she looks like. I see her a lot, similar like to my sister. Maybe that's not the same, but like, I know those faces, and when something is off, I can tell really easily, as opposed to, you know, drawing a stranger, then that gets more difficult. Also, I saw a trash life at the Eras tour. I've told you about that in my last video, and if you are living under a rock, I don't know if you know this about me, but I paint trash. I call them trash life. There are still life-like scenes that I find in the streets and then replicate in oil paint. I find them like interestingly staged, and I always take photos of those trash lives, and then in my studio I paint oil paintings of those. And so I had seen this trash life at the Taylor Swift show, And I'm like, an Eras Tour trash life would be kind of iconic. So I took a photo of that. Didn't end up, you know, painting it because it wasn't like special enough without that context. But I had made a drawing of it the day after because that is when we went on our road trip. So for the next few days, I spent a lot of time in the car. And I was planning to, you know, do some sketches while driving, but obviously I wasn't driving myself. Okay, my sister was driving, so I could do some sketches. But I got car sick when sketching, so that didn't work out. So for, you know, the next few days, I only sketched whenever we were stopping by, you know, at a beach, campsite, wherever. So I'm camping right now, which explains the setup, I guess. And it's like 12:09 a.m. like in the morning, and I'm not really in the mood at all. So what I've been doing is I've been like just taking random photos, like this one of a trash life that I took at the Eras Tour. Had a great time, by the way. Sometimes you just don't have like the material with you to draw, or you don't have the time, but you see something that you like and that you're interested in drawing. So I thought, why not just like look at the drawing and kind of like sketch it from the phone. It's like not the real thing, but it doesn't matter because this is just about actually getting the things on paper. I feel like I look crazy right now, but it's fine. We are artists. Also, like the roads in Australia are bumpy as hell. I couldn't have done a straight line even if I wanted to. So that plan kind of went out the window quickly. So between days 8 and 12, I sketched a lot by the beach. We also had a campsite with a tennis court, and I sketched my sneakers, my tennis shoes. I also did some sketches of my sister, kind of like in motion, walking along the beach. Like these really quick recordings, I call them 10-minute sketches. Her body like laying down on the towel. And for these couple of days, I wasn't able to fill like a page every day. Initially, that was my plan to like do a page every day. But on some days, I ended up filling multiple pages. I just saw a lot of things and then just did like smaller sketches. Kind of like 5 sketches a page, so you know that wasn't really working with. I did it like differently every time, just you know depending on how big my sketches ended up being. Day 13 had some of my favorite footage from the trip that we filmed, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna give landscapes another try. Let's give it another shot. Maybe I like it now. No. It was beautiful, but I was like, as much as I would like to be good at, you know, drawing landscapes, I find drawing objects and people, like portraits, so much more fun. So I was like, I gave it my best. We tried, we failed. Let's move on. Day 16, I made a sketch of our beach towels. I kind of liked how aesthetic it looked. And I ended up painting this in oil paint the month after in like a really big painting. So one thing that I've noticed is that when sketching, and sometimes like when we have beach days and I'm like, I would rather read right now, but I kind of like have to do my sketches every day, is that I just sketch like one item and take photos of other items, and then throughout the next days I'm like continuing my sketches. So it's like I'm not covering a page a day. I'm doing one quick sketch a day, whether that's of a smaller scene or a bigger, that just kind of like depends on the mood that I'm in. And this trip actually gave me so many ideas for oil paintings that I ended up, if you've watched my yearly recap, you know this, I mentioned that, you know, sketching really helped me in coming up with new art series and new ideas, and, you know, the idea of, you know, painting mundane scenes from my daily life in oil paint, and kind of like using that to freeze a moment in time. I really liked that idea. This is the very reason why I started this project. I don't like my art ideas coming from Pinterest or from other people. I want them to come from me, and sketching is a really great tool to challenge that. Actually, I lied. I did try to sketch nature for another time, so I guess this is my last nature sketch. This must have been like day 17 when we went on a hike. Might have been the same day though. I'm not sure. If something is out of order, you know, this is a year ago that I went on this trip. Like I tried my best, you know, to be as accurate as possible. As we were driving back into Melbourne, we stopped by a restaurant, so had a little still life sketch. As you can see, like still life really is close to my heart. It's what I do, so we did some still life drawings as well. Okay, so after traveling for about like a week and a half, I mainly just sketched in nature, like the beach, the sea, trees, bodies, whatever I had like in my proximity. And now that we're in Melbourne, which is like, yeah, a lot of skyscrapers, buildings, cafes, there's so much more to see and so much more to record, that I thought I would like really go for it and try to do as many sketches as possible, fill maybe multiple pages a day. I really feel like Melbourne is such a creative city that it like increases my productivity and creativity weirdly. Looking around, sketching buildings, yeah, and whatever I see. More than halfway done and like a lot more to go. So yeah, let's explore. I was incredibly productive in Melbourne. We spent 5 days there, 4 to 5 days, I think. I started sketching my morning coffee. We went thrift shopping. So I sketched us trying on sunglasses. I also really liked this art gallery's typography, so I sketched that. My drawing style at that point also got a lot looser, which I really liked. That was always my goal, was to be kind of loose and like not perfectionist at all, which is also why I don't know if I've ever addressed this in this video. I was planning to address it earlier, but I have not used an eraser once. I was just using a bullet point pen for my sketches because of that exact reason. I wanted to be like a lot more intentional with like the placings of each line. So that is why, you know, I was trying to do the entire thing without an eraser. By that time, I also got way faster, and my my lines are very loose. I've also never used an eraser once for the entire project, which is an intentional choice. I didn't want to overthink, and so, you know, that kind of like challenged me to be very intentional with the way I was drawing and placing each line. Day 20, after giving up on landscape drawings, I was like, how about we give architecture a try? So I sketched this, which is one of my favorite drawings. It's from the Royal Exhibition Building in Melbourne. And I think this is actually the longest I sketched. It took me an hour, and maybe because of that, it is probably one of my favorite ones. We also went to the library in Melbourne, which if you've never been there, or if you ever get to Melbourne, go there please. It's so cool. So I sketched the interior of the library, and I loved seeing that, you know, come to life on my page. I actually filled this page 2 days later with the lip gloss and some other items that I've seen. So, you know, whenever I had some empty space on a few pages prior, I just, you know, went ahead and filled those pages with more sketches. Day 22, we spent at the Victoria National Gallery, which is so cool. I love the selections of art they have, and I did some sketches of artwork, you know, portraits, bodies, you know, whatever I thought was interesting. I did a recording and a sketch of. I love sketching at the museum because, you know, you have a lot of time, and, you know, the subject, whatever it is that you're painting, isn't moving, so that makes it a lot easier. Day 23, also very productive. We went thrift shopping. Actually, we started our day at a cafe, and I had a croissant, which is apparently like a viral croissant, which we found out later. And this is also one of my favorite pages from my trip, because I just feel like at this point, at like day 20, day 22-ish, that is when I really, you know, developed a style and a routine. That was when I felt, oh wait, this is actually how I draw. This isn't like a style that I'm mimicking. This is actually what I do, you know, like intuitively. We went to like an antique shop, and they had a lot of like these metal pots and fake fruits. So, you know, that was really cool. By the night, we went to a bar as well, so I drew a wine glass. I think this must have been day 24. So I sketched Frida. I really like how you can actually tell that it's Frida, like that is my sister. Also looks a little bit like me, but that's just because we're sisters. The lighting was so beautiful that day. Day 25, we flew from Melbourne to Perth. Okay, so it's day number 25, which basically means we have 5 days left. And I'm actually pretty confident that I'll be able to finish the entire sketchbook. I have conveniently 5 pages left. And as I mentioned before, that is where I spent my semester abroad. So I was living on campus, and it's definitely so weird being back there. Although the majority of the time we did spend by the beach. Perth and Western Australia has the most incredible beaches I've ever seen. They're also remote. There's no one there most of the time. So a lot of drawings of my sister as she was laying down on the towel on the beach. I would also be super interested in a drawing class, a bodies drawing class. Maybe I can also do a video about only drawing bodies, because that is so difficult. That is the most difficult thing I've ever done, is drawing bodies. I had this really cool Masse Breuer Vassili chair at our Airbnb, so I did a sketch of that. And we also, on the day after, went to my old campus and had a look. And so I sketched at numerous places around my old university, which I did study communications and graphics design there. And so I had drawn some water lilies. They have a pond, which is really cool. Some of the fashion designer students' works, my sister's shoe, my coffee. So, just miscellaneous items of whatever I saw and did that day. Day 29, I did one last portrait of my sister. It was so beautiful. It was one of her last nights, and she was looking out at the ocean. We've, seen the sunset over the ocean, and yeah, that looked so beautiful. So I had to do a little drawing here as well. I've also sketched these earrings that I'm wearing, because I bought those at the same night at a sunset market, and they have these really cool beach markets in Australia. So that has been one of my most worn jewelry pieces. I really treasure it. It just kind of holds a lot of memory, of course. And I've also noticed that I'm getting better at sketching people, like this one. And I really struggle with recording bodies and finding the right body composition. So I feel sketching is my way to go. Also, actually sketching at the museum really helped as well. If you don't have any models, go to the museum. There are plenty of bodies to sketch over there. And yeah, a travel day tomorrow, and that's basically it. So yeah, let's see how I'm gonna fill the last of these pages. And obviously I have the sketchbook to remember the trip. So this counts as day 30. On our way back, I did a drawing of my airplane food. And I also did a sketch of Frida as we were, bored out of our minds at the Doha airport for our, 4-hour layover after a, 14-hour, 16-hour flight to Doha. We had another 6-hour flight awaiting us, and so we, spent the time being creative at the airport. Great. Okay, so what is the verdict? Am I going to be drawing more after doing this? The answer is yes. I got a second sketchbook last year as well, so I've been filling that, not as productive as I was on the trip, but it's kind of something that really had taught me how to develop a style in drawing. You just have to do and repeat something in order to make it your own. And so that was the whole purpose of me drawing for 30 days. Do I think I'm good at it? I'm better at drawing objects. I suck at drawing landscapes, and bodies are so hard. And that is definitely something I have to work on and improve, which is also why I'm sketching at the museum so often, especially throughout the last year. Get a sketchbook, try it out yourself. Hopefully this was interesting. I also think comparing my first and my last sketches is really visualizing how important it is, you know, to stay in a routine. And I think, you know, starting again, something like that, obviously it's going to take me a little bit to get back into my routine, but it's not going to be as hard as it was the first try. I would appreciate if you would subscribe to my channel. That's helping me out a lot, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye!